Well, I'm sorry about the lighting again, but the aid worker rearranged my lamps. This LED light has I like the other light better, which is the swirly energy saver lights. But it is 3:50 a.m. and well, yesterday was just a fuck day because I woke up early because I have to, without much sleep. I wait all day for my aid worker. Never shows up. I don't want to call the office, get her in trouble because she's a good aid worker. So I don't know what happened to her. So I'm just gonna call tomorrow and say, when do you have me scheduled for Friday, and see if they act like it's business as usual. But yeah, she did not show up. I just kind of like waited around for her. And I was obsessed with the closing arguments on the Derek Chauvin trial anyway, which I never really sat through closing arguments before. I had no idea they would take 7 hours, but after about 5 hours of watching that stuff, and they have like a scroll on the side of the video where you can make, I like to make jokes and shit, so I can make my little comments and whatnot. But lots of times you don't want to write too much because the scroll will be whipping by, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people focused on this trial, because they already had people assembled outside the courthouse. The usual suspects were there. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and a bunch of other folks, waiting to do their race baiting thing. They're just waiting, like, okay, they're like me, but they're impatient for a different reason. They're like, when do we get to break shit, man? When do we get to burn and act a mess? Burn down buildings and act like fools and whatnot. Be out in the street, not even knowing why we're there. I don't know, man. Put my watch back on. But yeah, so anyways, so I'm like, oh, I'm up all day, I'm tired and shit. So I go to sleep 8:30, 9 o'clock, somewhere around there. I don't know when. But I wake up for absolutely no reason at midnight. And here I am drinking coffee. And well, I started at 3:30 in the morning. It's 3:52 right now. So yeah, I am not a happy person right now. I am starting to feel. I always feel like that spider swirling the drain, and I assume that's why a lot of people watch this. It's like, how does this motherfucker keep trying? What the hell's wrong with him? I don't understand this. I warned people that this wasn't going to end well. There's nothing. There's no rainbow at the end of this journey. This is not going to end well. I've accepted this. But yeah, is it only going to end one way, with either a sudden death by my own hand or by natural causes. This is, yeah. I already know this. But it's really the thing that's irritating me right now is not the fact that, oh, I don't know, I've had no sleep and I'm up in the middle of the night, left with my poisonous thoughts, drinking coffee when I should be sawing logs. The thing that's really bothering me is like, I don't ask for much, okay? So this new doctor I got with the Visiting Physicians Association, when they come, I thought it's cool, come to my house, they give me X-rays in the house, they draw blood in my house. I don't have to go nowhere. It's like mind blowing, right? It's cool shit. Well, they call me up and they're like, well, I'm a new patient. Like, what do you think of our visit? Like a quality control check. And I'm like, oh, you guys are great. I think it's awesome that I don't have to leave the house and don't have to go to like hospitals and get tests and stuff. She's like, that's good. Is there anything that we can do for you? And I was like, well, I always speak in this manner, but of course I communicate perfectly fine. But I'm like, sometimes I don't communicate too well. So if you could ask Dr. Chan if I could have an oral case of steroids, an oral case of steroids, not a whole case. I just need like a few. if I could have like an oral dose of steroids just once. I don't need to have them all the time. I understand that they can do damage to soft tissue if used over a long period of time. I just want it once because I had another doctor, and my knee is still swollen and my ankle is still swollen and I'm still in pain. And, I had this other doctor who prescribed oral steroids for me once, and it brought the swelling down in my ankle, and then I didn't have the swelling in my ankle until a few weeks ago. So she's like, oh, I'll talk to the doctor about that, and I'll let him know. I don't know how she asked, or if she like added the details that I just said to her on the phone, because very rarely do you speak to your doctor directly on the phone. If you're a regular Joe, maybe if you're a congressman or something, I don't know. But anyways, so they call me back the same day, and it's a hard no because it's a risk to my health. I just done told you, bitch. Another doctor did it. Just because he was in jail, he isn't in jail for giving me steroids. He's in jail for raping somebody. It's like, so it's a hard no. It's like very rarely do I ask a doctor something more than twice. Of course, I asked for, when I got dependent on Xanax from taking it off the street like an idiot, not knowing what I was doing. I asked my doctor about it a couple of times. I even went so far in as to bring in a pill, which is, yeah. If you're telling the guy that you want Xanax, that it works for you, and he asks what doctor prescribed it to you, and I say Dr. Steve, and well, who's that? It's me. But really, I took it just because I thought it was a downer that would help me sleep. But anyways, so I rarely ask a doctor, like, because they just don't listen. They don't give a fuck. He's just guarding his ass because he knows I got a heart condition. He's saying it's bad for me. It's like bull fucking shit, man. I've been pumped through that x-ray you gave me the other day is worse for me than a single course of steroids. It's like, give me a break. All them football players out there, man, they're getting steroids like 4 and 5 times a year minimum. Yeah, I'm talking too loud. I got neighbors upstairs now, and my voice is deep and bass carries. That's why you hear them cars going down the street thumping. Is bass carries, but I have trouble talking in a high falsetto. It just sounds stupid. I can't even whisper in like that. But yeah, I was fucking delirious. I'm in pain. My stomach hurts. And I'm all bloated, feeling fucking miserable. And it's like, what is the point of having doctors if they don't fucking listen to you? It's like, they don't listen to you. He gave me the gabapentin, but I think that's actually contributing to my sleep disruption because, I'm on a couple other pills, and sometimes they all get in there together and fight. And I don't know what the hell's going on with this weird sleeping thing I had, but I had a good thing going there for a while as far as my volume dose and waking up in the morning, going to sleep at night, and sleeping through the night. That's, since I don't get a whole lot of exercise, that's a hard thing to do. Well, can't get a whole lot of exercise because my knee and my ankles are fucking balloon. So yeah, this is a horrible situation to be in. I got nothing to look forward to but pain and misery and more family turmoil and getting old and trying to chew stuff with the front of my teeth. Blah, blah, blah. Misery, misery, misery. Doom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Doom, despair, and agony on me. Oh. If you're old enough to remember Hee Haw, that was like one of the things that I remember from it, besides all the big titties, because that's why people watch the show. And to top it all off, I'm getting some tooth pain, like right here. And the last time I saw my dentist in November, she's like, "You have any trouble with this here tooth?" And I'm like, "Why?" She said, "It's looking a little suspect." But I don't, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's why I'm not investing a whole lot of time in getting used to a partial plate, because they're just going to be yanking more teeth out of my head anyway. And I was going to think of something. If my aid worker would have showed up yesterday, I was going to think of something for her to do, which was, because she's too efficient. Like I said, yeah, you know, when you're at work and you're like, "Look, buddy," you're like talking to the guy next to you, like, "Look, buddy, stop working so hard. We're going to run out of work." And then, you know, we're going to have to pretend like we're busy, and they're going to realize the job is done, and then we're going to get less money, so stop that shit. So she worked too hard. So I'm going to invent something for her to do today, which is break down my one scooter. And because it breaks down into pieces, and then I can put it in the trunk of my friend's car. And I was thinking about maybe going fishing, see if that would give me, I don't know, some something different, you know, might help my nerves or whatever. See, this is another thing. This is a fucking horrible life. I just took a fucking shit, and like my body's telling me, "Well, you need to take another one." I'm like, "You're just lying. I can't believe nothing this body tells me." You know what that's like? It's like here's an example. It's like, okay, she cleaned my room, which means she swept all the bed bug dust, which is also effective for other household pests, like, I don't know, roaches that Stampy gave me, right? So there's been like roaches crawling on my bed, like I'm sitting there smacking my computer, putting it on pause and shit, because there's like roaches crawling on my bed now because I had my bedroom clean. Because of some bitch that's probably dead or in a nursing home and don't live here no more and ain't lived here for like 4 months gave them to me like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Because my landlord's an idiot. So, anyways, um, so like I'll like have a computer like set on my chest, not see my stomach, you know. And I lift up the computer and look, and I'm like, "Oh, I thought a roach was crawling on my belly." It's like my body lies to me all the time, tells me shit that ain't there, you know. My body is a haunted house with a bunch of ghosts inside, making noises and rattling chains and moving furniture and shit, you know. And it's like, you know, it's not real and it's all in your head, but sometimes it is real and sometimes there actually is a roach crawling on your stomach. So what the fuck do you do with that kind of? I'm just bombarded with information like from here down because of this disease like all the time. Like, you know. And then I'm not told things that are kind of important, like, "Hey, you got your leg like resting on your one foot. Your leg has been resting on your one foot for like an hour now, and you just ain't paying attention, and now you don't have any blood in your foot, and now you can't move your foot." This is a fucking nightmare, man. Like I said, there ain't no happy endings to this thing. It's nah, it's just bad. Then, like, you know, the people that you're staying alive for are like breaking your balls all the time, and like they're not helping you out. It's like my brother who washes his head in a bucket. It's like, dude, I got like 6 grand saved up. We can put whatever we want to on the rent receipts. You got a house that's empty except for you. Your dog just died. You're in depression. I can help you out. Like he actually said, like, I just like, it's hard for me to come down from upstairs after I've been asleep and there's nothing there to greet me. I don't have any cat or dog or pet or anything. I'm like, you know, I ain't gonna wear a collar, but you can take me in and I'll do better than a dog. You don't have to clean up my shit, and I will fix everything in this fucking house. All I wanted was like help, like just get me out of this place before my brain goes to shit, and give me a place where I can sit outside, and I have a yard, and I have a suburban neighborhood, and I can learn how to ride my fast scooter, and I can have a little hope, and it's like, you'll eat better because I can get my food deliveries at your house. Because my brother don't eat. Like he cooks, and he don't got no money, man. He's living on, he's got to like deal with taking care of a house and paying like suburb prices for like sewer, water. He's got to pay electric. He's got to pay gas. He's got to do all this shit, and he makes like just over $1,000 a month. So he ain't got shit, you know. And me, Mr. Moneybags, with my $6,000 and my, roughly $1,300 a month, and my 200. At the time, it wasn't 200 in food stamps. It was less, but this was pre-COVID. Yeah, I'm offering to come in there, and he's like, "Oh, I wish I could take a shower like a normal person." Yeah, I'll give you all that. Just get me out of this fucking place for like the summer. I get some exercise, get some fresh air, get a little sanity. He's like, no. I was like, I understand you crazy. I grew up in the same damn house as you. I understand you crazy, but man, you was really crazy. Because that's a sweet deal. Because I am a joy to be around. I am a sweetheart, and I am considerate, and I'm a damned angel. And not only that, I can occasionally make you laugh. And I even pick up after myself if my legs work. But now my legs don't work anymore because you didn't take me into your house and let me use your suburban neighborhood to rehabilitate myself. And you didn't take me on walks like you used to take your dog that just died. And yeah, and now my legs don't work no more because I used to be able to walk outside at this point. At that point, when I was asking to move into his house. So, how am I supposed to like stay alive for that motherfucker? And why am I staying alive for these other people? They ain't sticking their neck out and helping me. I sure as fuck ain't staying alive for me. So what the fuck am I staying alive for? These are the thoughts that you have at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is what they call in literature the dark night of the soul. I've had roughly 4,593 of them, give or take. Man, my whole goddamn life, man. My whole goddamn life is this. What do you do with your anger at a situation like that? I mean, what the fuck's the point? It's like, tell Dr. Chan he don't make no goddamn sense, man. Can I talk to the mother? No, you're not gonna talk to the doctor. Yeah. The Dr. Rapist guy was actually the best doctor you've had in the last, that you've interacted with. Not that it's been your personal physician, but the best doctor that you've interacted with in the last 10 years raped an 11-year-old girl. I don't know what that says about the medical community, but that guy actually gave a shit, and he actually shot my knee up with cortisone and got the swelling down and gave me some relief for a while, and then he gave me oral steroids, which took down the swelling in my ankle. He referred me to orthopedist. He looked out for me. He just didn't know shit about benzos. That was where he screwed up, is because like that's not uncommon though. So yeah, like what, I'm not running around and I'm not chasing tail for a doctor that yeah, I am not looking for a doctor that makes sense. It's like, I'm not looking around. Like, maybe I'll find a doctor that, will listen to me. It's like, no, none of the motherfuckers listen, man. It's just the way it is. They don't listen, and now they don't want to give you drugs that you've taken before because you have a heart condition. And they might, they figure, that might be bad for you. I forget how she worded it. She said, that might do you more harm than good, or it might be dangerous, or I don't even know what the hell she said. Something along those lines. It's like, man, breathing is dangerous for me, bitch. Come on. Yeah. I'm not even like keeping track of my appointments and shit because it's all done by phone. So I just keep my phone by me. But I've been trying to like stay awake during business hours. So I got my head together, you know. I'm not like, you know, the rotten slash volume funk, like blah 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 blah, you know, making some where I could make some kind of sense and like think on my toes and shit and say the right things and whatnot. Maybe even like remember my social security number if they ask me. But at this point, I'm like, yeah, fucking, I'm just keep my phone by me. If they wake me up, they wake me up. Because they put that referral in to the orthopedist, and I asked the person on the phone uh, yesterday, which still feels like today. I asked him like, yeah, about that referral, man. I haven't heard from him yet. And I was like, how long should I give him? And she said I would call him tomorrow. So they're probably like, oh, we heard about this guy. Bad news. Yeah. Yeah. Now I got to call these people. That's not how it works. You see that the doctor puts in the referral, gives them the information, including your goddamn phone number, and they call you. That's how it works. You know, it's a don't call us, we'll call you policy. It's like getting your number or giving your number to a girl and then like calling her and being like, why ain't you called me? It's not how it wouldn't. That's not how it's done. Uh, I guess I can break out some what's that shit called? Ambisol type shit. Put it on my tooth. It just feels weird. I don't know, man. That's the last thing I need. It's like, oh, maybe if I had steroids, I could bend my damn leg and get dressed and go to the dentist to get a tooth yanked out of my head. When I ain't been out of the house for like since November. Yeah, so I don't know what happened to my aid worker. I know her mom just died, and I don't know if she flaked out yesterday or what the deal was. That agency, I told them, you know, just that other number, strike it out of the record because it happened once before where supposedly the one 300 pounder knocked on the door and then told them to call me, and they used a number on the phone that I don't use anymore. And I told them like I don't use that number anymore, and then they were like, well, we called you, and I, you know, charged up the old phone. And I looked, and it's like they did call me, but they called me on a dead phone they don't use no more. And I'm like, yeah, like strike that phone out of the records, like just delete that. But I don't think it was the case of that yesterday because I was watching that trial, and this woman ain't no shrinking violet 300 pounder don't want to work. You know, she's not gonna just like on the door. She's gonna hit that door. So I got one ear open, and I know what time. It's usually 10:30 to like 3 o'clock they come. So I'm watching these closing arguments on this trial for like hours, just waiting for this woman to show up, not eating, not moving, just sitting there. And then she don't show up. So I don't know what happened to her or what the deal was. But she told me she was supposed to come Tuesday. The agency didn't call me Monday or Tuesday. I didn't call them. I thought about calling them, but I was like, I don't want to call them and get her in trouble in case she just like flaked out or whatever. You know, she went back to work quick. Like, she told me her mom was her best friend, and that like, you know, she's been taking care of her. And I'm like, do you have any help? And it's like, do people like bug you to put her in a nursing home? And she's like, they better not bug me to put her in a nursing home. She ain't going in no nursing home. But I think I had a misunderstanding in there about like she was taking her to some kind of place where she had therapy, and I was like, is that some kind of assisted living or something like that? Yeah, that's what it was. And she was like, assisted living? It's like, no, man, that's my mom. So her and her mom were real tight, and she was only like off for 2 weeks, and then came back to work. She has like a literal multi-millionaire brother. He's a complete asshole. If her description is even vaguely accurate, it's like she's 68, working her ass off, and she got this brother that's so cheap. He's a millionaire. He's so cheap that she puts a tip down on the table, and he won't let her tip. He takes the tip off the table, and he doesn't steal her tip. He just like gives it back to her in the parking lot. And I'm like, yeah, that's one place you don't want to go back to because you get a spit sandwich. It's like, I don't think that guy understands why you tip people. you don't you tip people because they live on tips, and because next time you go back there, you don't want to put something funky in your food. You want to take care of it. Yeah, can you imagine that? Somebody who's like a multi-millionaire that is offended by, that not only doesn't tip himself, but is offended by the fact that you're tipping. Uh, I think she said that when one of her relations died, all he had to say about it at the funeral, in way of sympathy, was "Buckle up, Buttercup." It's like, wow, man, that guy should die a horrible, painful death. I think I said something like that to her. Like, I hope he catches some disease that kills him slowly. She was not offended by my statement. Because it's the easiest thing in the world to give somebody money. If you got it, it's like the easiest thing. It's a lot harder to give time, to give patience, to give a sympathetic ear. All that stuff's much harder than like, hey, you're busting your ass like cleaning up after old people and stuff like that. And you're an old person yourself at 68. Let me help you out, man. Because she's like, instead, he goes to her house and is like, how much did you pay for these windows? And she's like, I don't know, it was somewhere shy of 10 grand to get all the windows in this house installed. And he was like, 10 grand? Are you out of your mind? You just like people ripping you off? Meanwhile, he could have paid for it himself out of his pocket change. That's his sister. I'm like, how'd you guys get along when you were kids? And she's like, oh, fine. We got along fine. And she's like, I got one good brother and one not so good brother. And I'm like, not so good brother? That's your idea? Not so good? I was like, that man's a straight up asshole. I'm saying this shit outright, man. And that guy sounds like an asshole to me. You know. Anyways, I don't know. I just didn't want to. I didn't really need anything yesterday, and I was like, whatever's going on here, I don't want to muddy the waters. She apparently needs this job, and she works really hard. And yeah, it's kind of ironic that she got rid of all the like. She cleaned all the pesticide and stuff off of this, and she cleaned like all back there, and like I had this whole thing area around my bed, of course, dusted for bed bugs. She cleaned all that out. Now I've got a roach invasion to deal with. But that's something I could ask her to do because it's hard to do. It's like I don't even know how effective that roach poison is, but it worked really well at first. Maybe they've developed an immunity to it. But you have to go around like all over the place with it and put down little tiny dabs like in crevices and in corners, and it's like hard work. So my way to dodge that hard work is to take like an almost empty cat food can with the juice in there to attract them, and then put the poison inside the can. Or just like they like to be under the stove because it's by the register and by the heat. So just like put squirt a bunch of it underneath the stove. Sometimes I get ambitious and put it a little bit here and there, but she would go all over this place. Because like I said, she's industrious. I don't know why she's AWOL yesterday, but yeah, things suck horribly. This is fucking horrible. It's like, I'm in too bad a shape to get a course of steroids. That's just ridiculous. It's like, you think I want to have a heart attack from it or something? You know, I'm taking the same damn medications that I was taking before when the guy gave it to me before, except for maybe Xarelto, which is a blood thinner, which from my understanding, I don't know what I was taking at the time. I don't think I was taking any blood thinners at the time. But I don't know what, you know, the guy is not specific about his concerns. He wasn't specific when I talked to him in person. I got gesture on the camera. He wasn't specific when I talked to him in person, and he wasn't specific when I talked to him on the phone. The dude was very non-specific. He just was like, no. He was very specific about that two-letter word. No problem with that. But as far as the reasons behind it, it basically said they're bad for you. So you know what's bad for you? Being up at 3:40 in the morning thinking suicidal thoughts because your knees swollen up and your legs swollen up and you're in pain and you can't sleep. Yeah, that's bad for you. And you feel like the people that are supposed to help you ain't helping you and don't want to help you and don't listen to you. So, yeah. And this whole being cut off of benzos thing, it's like I'm taking too many whole pills, I've noticed. I mean, I'm not keeping track of what I'm taking because I might need to start keeping track of what I'm taking. Because I'm taking too many whole pills because my nerves have been cooked, and I have to be awake during the day to answer calls and stuff. I think I'm just going to belay that policy. But yeah, I was like, oh, what the fuck? I'm up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and I have to wake up at 8 in case I get important phone calls because like these new visiting physicians people, you know, they'll call you at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. It's like, you know, I want to be awake and I want to, you know, be on the ball and have my morning coffee and all that. So like I'll be taking, instead of like a 2.5 milligram dose of bile, I'll be taking a 10 spot to make sure I go to sleep. And you know, I get all edgy and shit. Like earlier, I think in the last 24 hours, I've taken 7.5 milligrams. My dose I was on before they threatened to have the police come in here and rifle through all my shit was 5 milligrams a day. 7.5 milligrams isn't too far off, but I was kind of like shaky and felt nervous and stuff. So you know, my heart was doing its thing, and I took a blood pressure pill and a 5 milligram pill sometime around the time I was watching that trial. Sitting around waiting. So, yeah, I don't see. I'm a tough old buzzard and all, like emotionally, psychologically, or whatever. But there are limits. Everybody got a breaking point. There's limits to what anybody can deal with. And yeah, number one rated highest pain generating disease by the AMA CRPS. That'd be enough to topple most people. And that's only the tip of my iceberg. So this shit been going on for like ever. And it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. It's like once my good leg went bad, I knew I was in deep shit. And it's like this benzo thing been going on forever. And if I would have had doctor's cooperation, that's where the rapist doctor screwed up. If I would have had doctor cooperation when I first tried to quit and had like somebody that knew what they were doing, I would have been able to quit because I was down to a 1/4 milligram of Xanax a day. A 1/4 milligram, 1/4 of a pill a day. But then I had to go into get that oral surgery, so I kindled myself and was completely miserable. And then I was taking more Xanax, and then it was you know, then the guy was like, well, You seem to be struggling, so here, have some more Xanax. So I was taking even more Xanax. Then he was like, nope, we'll half that dose. Take less. Nope, take more. Nope, take less. Up to the elevator, down the elevator, you know. It's like kindle. He didn't even, dude only kindled a fire before, but he was killing the fuck out of me. You know, yeah, he only thought he was killing fires before, but he was killing the hell out of me. And I just explained that to somebody on a video where I was like, the video was called like benzo kindling is a real thing. And it was sometime like, sometime like in April or early May of 2018. I'm just all fucking miserable. I just woke up and I'm like, oh, just kill me. Somebody please kill me. I'm all miserable and I just go on camera and I'm like, I'm fucking miserable. It's horrible. You know, and so she commented on that old video and asked like, what's kindling? You know, and I explained it to her and she's like, oh, that's what I've been doing to myself. And I was like, she ended up making a joke about it, but I was like, you know, I take everybody real serious because it's a serious matter. You know, benzo suffering ain't no joke. So I was like, well, you know, the best thing you can do is like alprazolam / Xanax, Klonopin / clonazepam are the worst ones. So you have to get switched off of those higher ones with the short half-lives onto ideally Valium, but they also use, I think, Ativan, something with a longer half-life. But ideally, it's Valium. You know, I'm like, you can look up like the Ashton manual online, and I was like giving her all this advice and shit. She's like, she didn't really want to quit. She's like, I'm not ready for that. Maybe when they come out with a vaccine against withdrawal, little smiley face, you know. And I'm like, all right, you're just wasting my time, but you know what kindling is now, and you know what you're doing to yourself, so, you know. But yeah, basically I wrote this heartfelt, you know, explanation and post and stuff, and took my time doing it. And that's basically, you know, she wasn't ready. She's like, no, thank you, that withdrawal, can't handle that shit. So maybe sometime down the road. It's like, yeah, sometime down the road it just gets, you're gonna get worse and worse. It's gonna be harder and harder to quit. And it's like, when that dude like halved my dose in I believe in January of 2018, something like that. It's on here. And I was forced into it. It's like I got some Valium off the street, and it got me through like a real rough patch at the beginning of it. And then I started to hang, and I was like not having fun, but I was doing a 1/4 milligram a day, just a 1/4 milligram a day of Xanax. Now, at that point, if I would have had somebody who knew what they were doing and they switched me to Valium, I'm off for the shit in like a few months, guaranteed, because I didn't have the same leg problems that I have now. I could get outside. I was actually still had a relationship with these people down here. I could hop onto my electric bike, ride down to here. I was getting my own groceries, limping around the fucking store. I was still doing shit. I mean, I was limping. I was using a cane, but you just take your cane and you fold it up and you stick it in the basket of your little bicycle. And then you truck down to the grocery store and wherever. And if you need the cane, you know, you use the cane in the grocery store. Get your couple items, throw them on your electric bike, and truck your ass home. And you're outside, you're out and about. So it's a different story back then. Now it's, you know, now I'm this. You know, back then I weighed about 170 pounds. You know, and I was like, damn, I'm fat. I was like, I never weighed over 160 in my life. You're saying I weigh 173 pounds? Because my metabolism started to slow down. And now I'm like at least a $195 on a bad leg. And back then, you know, it's like, as far as my heart, I wasn't wearing no freaking monitor thing. I wasn't having like tachycardia and all that stuff. So I was like in much better shape to be quitting back then. How much, this is the CRPS, the leg, how much I think it's all of it, frankly. And of course, 2018 was the year of the meth heads and the squatters and the death threats and the police and the machete and all that shit. So I'm like trying to quit. It's hilarious if you think about it. I'm trying to quit like benzos in a fucking meth house. Excuse me, banging on the ceiling when they're up all night, tweaking around, walking around, scurrying around like ants. Excuse me, I'm trying to withdraw down here. Sir, can you please help me out? Please, can you be quiet? There's meth zombies walking past your door at 3 and 4 in the morning. And you're in there like, just trying to hold it together. And like, oh, my hand's trembling too bad. I don't think I can play my guitar today. Yeah. That's another thing. It's like, if you can exercise while you're going through like a benzo withdrawal, a real plus. And so like I was working out and shit. I got all like ripped and cut, and I made a funny video on here of me like doing a fake strip tease. I was all like muscular and stuff. I was all muscular. And now I'm just I'm like thick, but it's just fat. No definition. The definition is goo. Definition is like a gooey blob of protoplasm. That is what I am now. So here I am, a spectator to my own demise, talking to myself at 4 o'clock in the morning, drinking coffee. Just giving the fuck up on the whole idea of staying awake during business hours for phone calls. And that aid agency is so wonky that they might have me scheduled for Wednesday, and the dispatcher's name is like Laura. She might have just forgot to call me. She might call me at like 8 o'clock in the morning and say like, oh, she's going to be out there like in an hour. They don't run a tight ship. So yeah, I got to get my other land because this lighting is abusive. It's abusive to you. It's disrespectful. Completely disrespectful. So hopefully I don't have to go to the dentist, because that will be just like utter torture to me. I don't think they have people that come to your house and pull teeth out of your head, and I am not my father. I can't like just get a rag and a pair of pliers and yank a tooth out of my head and come out and show it to my baby boy. And all he did is make a comment. Shows me his tooth that he just freshly pulled out of his head, and said, teeth have long roots. That's all he said about it. I didn't hear him like yelling or screaming or nothing either when he was yanking it out. The only time I ever heard that dude like yell or scream or react really harshly to pain was 2 times that I can think of. I don't know how he kept from killing my younger sister, but he had this retarded ass coffee pot that was like something you'd see on Gunsmoke, right? It's like it had it was made out of silver. It was made out of some kind of silver metal, and you boiled like the bottom part, and then it had the hopper part, and you poured it manually into the hopper, and then you put the empty container back underneath the thing, and then you put it on the stove, and it had like a little black handle on top of the silver coffee pot. That's how you did it, is you quickly boiled. It had a handle on the hopper part. You held the handle and you poured the boiling water. And I watched him do it 1,000 times and slip the empty part that had the boiling water in it. You're holding this big hopper of boiling water, and then put it on the stove and you slap the lid on it and you wait for your coffee to drip through. It wasn't no Mr. Coffee. It was a manual coffee pot. So anyway, my sister was helping him out one day and poured boiling hot water all the way over his fucking arms. He had second-degree burns all over his arm. He made some noise when that happened. How he kept from killing her, I don't know. But his whole arm was just red all the way down where she spilled that boiling hot water on him, and he had some second-degree burns and some bubbles and shit. But, you know, he didn't want to go to jail for murder, so he didn't kill my younger sister. My younger sister might have been having like a petit mal seizure, because she would have petit mal seizures where you just pass out for a second. She had one on the bicycle and rammed into me and crashed into me on a bicycle. And I seen her crash into a parked car. We didn't know what the fuck was wrong with it, but it turned out that she was an epileptic. And we didn't find it out until she started having grand mal seizures, where, full-blown seizures. But a petit mal seizure is just like they're out for a second and then they wake up. Grand mal is where they make the noises, and people are worrying about them, like they're worried about their tongues all the time or whatever. But you just leave them the fuck alone. You try it if yeah, you really don't want to put things in their mouth for them to bite on or whatever. You just want to make sure that really the damage would be already done, because they do like seize up, bite, and whatnot. She bit her tongue a few times. She never bit it off or anything. But anyways, so she might have been having like a seizure when she poured boiling hot water over my murderous father. But yeah, he made noise on that time. Also, he was deaf in one ear. So, yeah, that was real fun too. But he had no wax in his ear and nothing to protect, like, I don't know. I don't know what parts he had in his ear, but he had some kind of thing. I don't remember what let's just say the dude couldn't hear out of one ear, and he didn't have a functioning ear. So he was worried about having some kind of infection in there or something like that. So he had, again, my younger sister, he preferred her as a doctor, apparently. Pour peroxide in his ear. And, there's no wax in there or anything to block it, because there's no reason for wax to develop if you can't hear out of the thing or whatever. And it went down into the eustachian tubes or whatever. He dropped to his knees on that one like he was shot. And he's like, ah! That's the only two times I ever seen that dude react to pain in any way, shape, or form. And he pulled his tooth out of his head and didn't make a noise, and nobody knew he did it. And I was there, and I didn't know he did it until he showed me his tooth in a rag and came out with his expression on his face. So yeah, he was scary. And I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I gotta talk about something if I'm gonna kill time, right? What? Yeah. I was telling the aid worker, like, yeah, people that met my father, they tended to remember him for good or for ill. She kind of glossed over that statement, but a lot of people loved the hell out of my dad. Nobody that lived with him. A lot of people loved the hell out of my dad, man. Because he was funny. He had this funny way of walking that, that put people at ease, like, a jokey, weird way of walking. He was a very studied sociopath, and he just knew how to be likable and shit. I mean, I don't mean like he was funny, like, he had a really well-developed sense of humor, because he did not. He had a very basic, like, uh, Looney Tunes, cartoons, Little Rascals, Three Stooges type sense of humor. Some of that shit is funny to me. But yeah, he didn't have like a sophisticated sense of humor, but he was a funny guy, and that he would say some oddball, fucked up shit, and because he was just himself, You didn't like it, man, fuck you. That's just the way he was. But he also knew how to play the game to, like, ingratiate himself with people if he felt like it. Like, I told her the cop story where he got stopped by the cops, and the cop was like, hey, you sped up. When them kids were in the street, you could have killed them. And he's like, they shouldn't have been in the street then. And the cop was like, yeah, but, you could have went to jail. And he is like, well, then I'd be in jail, but they'd be dead. At that point, the cop ran out of answers and then went back to his cruiser because he couldn't really, you can't write a guy up a ticket for driving in the middle of the street. If dumbass people want to be in front of my dad when he's in a motor vehicle, that's on them. For some reason, I don't know if that's true of like other places, but kids of a certain age like to play chicken with cars or like to stay in the street like geese and make cars slow down and shit. You know, that's not a good plan if my dad is behind the wheel because he will try to run your ass over. But geese will do that, like in the parks. I'm like riding on a bicycle. I did all these people a favor. I'm riding on a bicycle. And all this traffic is backed up to the parks because I used to fish in the parks, as I have stated previously. And I'm like, why is all this traffic backed up? Some accident or something like that? No, there's just a bunch of geese standing in the road, and the people didn't want to like run over the geese. And I'm like, man, the geese will get out of the way. So I just went by them on a bicycle and I sped up and knocked all them geese out of the way, man. They just got out of the road, and then traffic proceeded. Nobody thanked me. Gave me $1. Nobody, yeah, they should have. But yeah, my dad was funny and more, and like he would say some fucked up shit, or he would tell you some gruesome, unbelievable story, just like, you know, just like he was talking about, oh, it rained yesterday. And he just be like, okay. Um, but anyways, I don't know. I guess I'll stop rambling on here. I guess I've vented yeah, I'm a little spleeny, as they used to say in the old days. I'm kind of angry. They used to have these old-fashioned like medical theories about how the four humors of the body controlled your mood. Now, if I wasn't in severe pain, I would like show you how my brain is like a useless bin of non-essential information and describe the theory of the four humors to you. You know, it's like if you had supposedly if you had too much of a certain bodily humor, it affected your mood. I think that's where he's in an ill humor today, where those expressions came from. I used to learn all this shit because I used to write useful. And my everybody got that junk drawer in their house where like I might need this shit someday, and it's like really you never get around to it. It's like that's how my brain is. It's full of useless information. But yeah, maybe I'll look that up. But I'm not running through this Rolodex right now. Maybe I'll look up the four humors of the body and list them in the description. The whole I don't know when that was from. I want to say it's from medieval physiological theory or whatever. I don't know when they came up with that nonsense, but yeah. Hey man, they used to believe in spontaneous generation. Like, hey, I left this meat out and now there's a bunch of bugs on it. Apparently, meat gives birth to bugs. They used to believe in spontaneous generation, that life just popped up out of nothing. And like, yeah. I was writing something on the internet about that. And I found a cool video because this guy didn't know what the primordial soup was. Because life only comes from life, and they figured out that, hey man, that's called infinite regress. That is a logic problem. We need to find a solution to this because we know the Earth, or at least we're telling people the Earth is started at some point. Life on this planet started at some point. So if life only comes from life, that means something always had to be alive. That's not going to work. That's not going to fit into our scientific model of how this fucking world works. So we're gonna figure out how the animate can be organized from the inanimate. So they came up with this idea of a primordial soup, and how inanimate matter can organize into animate matter. And so they had something, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say Helios-Meyer's experiment, where they tried to simulate early Earth conditions, and they put it in a tube and they kept it closed, and then they found out that the molecules were organizing into and combining, and they're like, hey man, this could mean that there was this primordial soup on the Earth, and say lightning struck it, and Frankenstein monster style, and then that's how life got. That's how life began. So you need RNA to get DNA to get them little one-cell beasties that started off the whole thing, according to science. So I used to read about this shit. So viruses like COVID, they got this evil thing that they do, which they used to think of viruses as not alive. They're not a living thing. They're a thing that gets in your body. They do have they do have RNA replicating molecules in them, but they don't have the DNA part of things. So what they do is they get inside your body and they inject your cells, and they take over a cell and turn it into a virus factory, and they reprogram your cells to kick out viruses. And then your body, of course, fights back with its antibodies and yeah, it's leukocytes and all that crap. And there's there's always like a big war inside your body. There's a whole bunch of killing going on inside you right now, so don't be a pacifist, man. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of killing. If it wasn't for killing, you wouldn't be breathing right now, because your body needs to be fighting off shit and killing it all the damn time. So anyways, now they're rethinking the whole idea, because they used to have like these definitions for what constitutes a living organism: self-replication, reproduction, participation in the entity's own survival, and I don't remember the other ones. Those two were the most important ones. It's, life reproduces. Life insists upon being alive. That's your survival instinct. Life wants to spread. And anyways, I was writing about that shit. Then I was writing something that was far funnier and far more interesting probably today about, there was these guys, and they were talking loosely about porn in the modern age and shit. And I was like, man, you kids don't know how lucky you got it. I used to have to walk 20 miles in the snow to jerk off in the old days, man. Yeah, it's like you kids with your internets and your Amazons and your anonymity ordering weird freaky shit in the mail, man. We didn't have none of that. You had to own that shit. You had to walk into a video store. You had to look around, make sure there wasn't nobody in there that you knew, and then you would walk through these bat wing doors into the adult section of the video store. Now, the store that I went to, you didn't have to bring out the box with all the disgusting pictures on it. You just brought out a tag, because they had multiple copies. They had the tag system. But it was really weird. Everybody all happy and chatting and normal. Walked through them bat wing doors with all the perverts. Dead silence. Like two different worlds. But yeah, it's like then you have to walk out the bat wing doors. But, you can't check to see if there's anybody in the store or any of your neighbors seeing you renting. Yeah. Uh, Let me think of a disgusting title. Ass Blasters 14 or whatever. Yeah. And so, anyways, I'm walking out through the Batwing doors like some kind of perverted Wyatt Earp back in the day. And I hear, "Hey, Steve." I don't know no Steve, man. Got this tag that says Ass Blasters. It didn't really say that. It's not my thing. But, anyways, I had to think of something. And I'm like, oh, shit. Who is this? I don't even recognize the voice. I'm like, yeah. Here, it's old Jim Groves. I haven't seen this dude for 2 years. And I'm like talking to him. He's like, man, I ain't seen you in a long time. I'm like, oh, yeah. And what are the damn odds that you catch me walking out of the 30 movie section of the video store? And he goes, yeah, I kind of noticed that. I'm like, yeah, okay. But that's how it was back in the old days. You just couldn't be some kind of you couldn't keep it in the closet, man. You had to go out and own that shit. You couldn't sit in your house and say like, "Oh, I wonder what it looks like when a woman does this," or like, "I want to see this." I don't want nobody to know that I'm watching this shit, but they won't know it unless they're a computer hacker or it's saved in my cookies somehow. I don't know what cookies are, but it's a thing. And yeah, the one time that really cracked me up is I do remember the name of this movie because it had a tasteful title. The title was this, Shh, Just Fuck Me. That was the name of the fucking title. So I'm renting, Shh, Just Fuck Me. And I go up, and there's a whole bunch of people in the video store. And I put the tag on the counter. And this woman's behind the counter. She's like, didn't you used to go to like Glen Oak High School? And I'm like, you can read the tag right. I'm not in here for conversation, man. And she's like, yeah, I remember. No. I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, no, I did not go to Glen Oak High School. That also happens to be the high school that Marilyn Manson went to. But I was like, no, I did not go to Glen Oak High School. And she goes, no, I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy renting this fucking dirty movie, and you're drawing attention to me, and I ain't liking it. They got to bring out, she's bringing out the case, and the name of the movies on the case is in the old VHS cases. They didn't have pictures on it, nothing like that, but they had the title, people real big on it. So I'm like, can we just speed this up? And she goes like, you know what, and she starts hitting on me, and I'm like, yeah, just because I'm renting a porno doesn't mean I want to date. It's like, is that what you do? Is you wait for a good-looking guy to come out of the like porno section, so he's horny, and you have a good shot? So she starts complimenting me on my hair, and she's like, I like the way you got, the sun's put streaks in your hair. You must spend a lot of time outdoors. What the fuck is going on here? Just let me go, please. God, why are you punishing me? I'm sorry. I don't even remember what she looked like, man. I do not even remember what she looked like. Whether she was good looking, average looking, or what. Because I don't. It's too long ago, and I just want to get the fuck out of here. So yeah, you had to earn that stroke back in the day, man. Because shit like that could and would happen to you. And like one of the funniest things, I've said this before, one of the funniest things I ever saw was that guy like, dude, you can almost hear the music playing in his head, like the Mission Impossible music. Do, and because he's like, got the dark glasses on, he puts the collar up on his coat, and put his hat down, and he comes across the side of the dirty bookstore. And I'm across the street because I'm going to the library because I'm a good boy that day. I'm just going to the library. Library's across the street from the dirty bookstore in Can't Know How. Tower Books. The road, I think, was called Market. And I'm watching this dude, and I'm like, what is this dude up to? Is he going to rob the dirty bookstore? And I realize, no, he's just like getting shit in the daytime. He's getting his fix in the daytime, and he don't want nobody to know about it. So, he's got the collar up like Spy versus Spy and shit, and he's like, looking around the corner and stuff, and he just like runs, just like a straight run into the store. I'm just I'm fucking laughing my ass off. I watched the whole process, man. He come up the side of the building and like almost with his back to the wall, like around the side of the building. He looked out in the street, between the two buildings. He looked out in the street, like looking around, and he had his disguise on. I'm just surprised he didn't have like a fake beard on or some shit. And he just run. He ran into that place. So I don't know what the hell he was getting. It'd be funny if he was getting some kind of tame, like nothing especially disgusting or shameful, just ordinary voyeuristic, hetero material, socially acceptable at the time. Now it started to freak me out when I started to see like people wearing shirts that said porn star on it and stuff like that. It was like porn became mainstream at some point, but it's like I said, these kids today, they just don't know how lucky they got it, because it didn't used to be like that. Yeah, it didn't used to be like that at all. You couldn't sit at home. You had to venture out. I almost froze to death that one time returning porn, because I was like, I did not want to be, I didn't want to have to pay double for these porn movies. So I rode a bicycle like in 18-degree weather. And I thought it would be a good idea to get high first and smoke a joint. It's like, no, that just makes you feel the cold like 1,000 times more. That was really stupid. It's 18 degrees out and I got to ride like 3-4 miles on a bicycle to return. Just Masters 13. What's really funny is like the first time that I went and rented movies, it's like I was, I didn't get into that stuff until I was old. I gave it my life a chance. I had like back surgeries, CRPS. I had all kind of shit going wrong with me before I got into the whole porno thing. So the first time I went to a porno store was I was probably 23. And it's like I rented like titles that were neutral titles. Like they wouldn't know what they were at the counter, but I was like, okay, I never did this before, and I go through the Batwing doors, and like some perverted Wyatt Earp, and I'm like, okay, this one's called California Native. I still remember the first two dirty movies I rented. California Native. That could mean anything. Okay, I gotta find another one that doesn't have jizz or ass in the title. So I was like, okay, this one's called Educating Kasha. That's a little suspect, but it doesn't have any dirty words in the title, so I got Educating Kasha and California Native. And I had like a little 19-inch color TV, and I was living with my foster brother above the wig shop. And I think I had to wait for him to go to work or something like that. It's like counting them hours, man. Counting them minutes, counting them seconds. Just get the fuck out of here. So I can have the place to myself. And then I watched I think that was like the first time I watched an uncut porno movie that wasn't scrambled. Because they used to have like scrambled porn like on TV. And they didn't know how to scramble shit right back in the old days, so you could actually see some of what was going on, but it was scrambled. And then I didn't even know, like I was watching the Playboy channel. So, what they say about Jaws, how it's a better movie because you don't see the shark, because the mechanical shark failed. It's like they don't reveal the shark, because your mind is like the most, the place where the true horror lives. It's like my mind, so you don't want to show the monster too quick or get too familiar with it, because your mind can think up shit that's way worse as far as like the movie. So, yeah. So that's why they say, like in Jaws, they didn't reveal the shark too fast. Well, I'm watching porno or I'm watching the Playboy channel, and it's scrambled, but you can see titties here, you can see some ass here, you can see some stuff here and there. But, I'm assuming that I'm watching uncut stuff. No, that stuff is chopped the hell. It was all cut. They cut out. I even read an interview by somebody whose job it was to edit porno movies for the Playboy channel. That was like the highlight of my miserable existence. I was still living in my folks' house as I wait till everybody would go to sleep. And then, like, I would sit there and try to watch scrambled porno movies on the Playboy channel, which was number 99 was the channel. And yeah, I don't know if I can describe this properly or even if you'd want to hear it, but the channel was 99 for some reason on the TV. The TV had like these buttons on it that you would push. So I'd like lay on the floor like really close to the TV. This is like 1988, 1989 or something like that. And the problem is like because it was scrambled, the TV had something in it where it would only show it for a while and then it would show a black screen. So in order for me to watch or scrambled, censored pornography, thinking that it was actual pornography, which made it more exciting, where it was uncut, I would have to push 9 and then I would push 1 and that would keep the image up. Then I would push 1 and that would keep the image up. But if you didn't push 1 in time, like you was gonna change the channel, it would do it for you and it would put up a black screen. Then you have to push 99 again to get the scrambled Playboy channel, and then you push the 1. Well, at some point, the 1 and the 9 on that little row of buttons on the front of the TV, the paint got wore off. And then we had this other TV that, see, the way they used to scramble porn, this is for my younger viewers, I don't have any of those, but the way they used to scramble porn is they used to wipe out the vertical and the horizontal hold. And so you get all these squiggly lines and stuff. That's why you could still see stuff. You still see stuff going on. Then they figured out how to scramble it to where you couldn't see nothing. And then, every technology took a flying leap at that point. But anyways, so we had this TV like where there was something wrong with it. It was a black and white TV. We were like super poor, and there was something wrong with it. And if you would smack the TV in the side, it would wipe out the scrambling effect. But you still had like a problem with the vertical. But if the squiggly back and forth, the horizontal hold, you got whack this TV in the side, and it would fuck with the horizontal hold thing, and so it was no longer scrambled horizontally. But then it would like slowly roll because it had like the vertical hold would have problems. So you could actually see what was going on, a lot better. It was in black and white. But then it would start rolling. It would start rolling faster and then rolling faster, and then you'd have to reach back there and behind the TV, and like there was like a white dial that was a vertical hold, and you'd have to turn the vertical hold back and make it go back to the beginning. But then it would slowly start all over again, and then the horizontal hold would go out, and you'd have to smack the TV again. It was like playing pinball, man. It was like playing pocket pool and pinball at the same time. It took talent to jerk off back in the day. Man, it was hard, man. It was pushing buttons, smacking TVs, turning dials, man. It's like you needed 3 hands to jack off back in the day, man. It was difficult. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, that's enough talk. But that's just how the world has changed. And so again, YouTube screws me over with its filter, and I don't say nothing now. I think the worst thing I said is I had to make up a name for a movie, and I said Jizz Masters 11. And I think it was the worst thing I said in this post, because I'm aware of this YouTube filter thing they have now. They have a new YouTube filter that does not allow you to say certain things on there. So I write this big, long, funny ass thing and to send to these 2 dudes, because these 2 younger dudes are talking about something to do with pornography. And I was like, you kids don't know how good you got it, and use the 10 miles in the snow line. And I put, effort into amusing other people. And because that gives me a sense of self-worth. That's what I'm trying to do right now. And yeah, YouTube just wipes it out. I'm like, man, god damn it. It's like, what do I have to say is Jay? You don't have to start speaking in pig Latin. I've actually done that already. I'm like, I you know, talked to this one dude that has a channel called the Horror Geek, and I'm like, look, all I did was repeat lines from the movie. So all I said was, a Lester May, because this guy had this movie in there, and it had molester in it, and it's like I don't know what I said, but it wiped my comment out, So I wrote it in pig Latin, and he's like, do I have to start writing in pig Latin? It's like I'm not rude to anybody. I don't use excessive foul language in writing. It's like I don't know what you're allowed to write and what you're not allowed to write. I just know that I spend a lot of time and effort writing shit, and then it gets wiped the fuck out. And that is, it's bad enough that I'm killing time writing on YouTube, but to have it disappear into the ether, that is annoying. So yeah, that happened. That's why I was going through that, or what it used to be like back in the day for the porno impoverished, or how you used to have to, man up and put on your big boy pervert shoes. Is that how that goes? I think it's your big boy pants. Yeah, you have to put on your big boy pants, man, and just own that shit. Like, oh yeah, I'm renting this movie. Yep. And you know exactly what I'm going to do when I'm going to get home. And I'm going to be using this hand. Sometimes I'll be using this hand just for variety's sake. You just had to own and shit. And like nowadays, that's what I don't like about the internet is the anonymity factor, which allows people to be rude, allows people to be mean, and allows people to say all this nasty shit. And it's like, that's another thing I don't understand. It's like, okay, why are you being mean to strangers that you don't know? And like why is all this racist crap being allowed on this Derek Chauvin scroll? It's like the most racist joke. Like, the George Floyd guy died, right? So like this guy made a pretty good racist joke, because I was like writing like, why aren't racists funny? I'm like, none of these racist jokes are funny. And this one guy keeps saying the same joke over and over again. It's not going to get funnier the more you say it. You're not going to get a reaction to it because it's not funny, right? So this guy was like, for George Floyd thing, he was like, Georgia of the jungle, watch out for that knee. And if you're old enough, there was a cartoon called George of the Jungle, and that was part of the theme song was Georgia of the jungle, watch out for that tree. And he'd smack into a tree, and I was like, finally, a funny racist joke. But they let that shit fly. It's fucking, racist jokes. And there was like Chimp Fest, there's all kind of like racist jokes on there, like Chimp Fest 2021's about to begin. And they were like making lip jokes and all these dumb racist jokes. And it's like, oh, that's good, but I'm not allowed to, I'm not allowed to do my thing. It's not fair. Now I gotta listen to the sound of defeat. So this is a sound I've heard many times in my life as my voice rides off into the sunset. The sound of birds chirping, because the sun is about to come up around here. 5:08. So, from being a fisherman, I know this. The first sign that sunrise is coming is you'll hear birds chirping. And then the sky will start to get a little bit lighter. Now, I'm not exactly sure when the sun rises anymore. I forgot what a carp looks like. I don't get to go outside anymore. But around this time of year, there's a shift to where sunrise starts happening earlier and earlier. At some point toward the course of the summer, it's light out at 5:30 in the morning around these parts. I know this because I used to trespass a lot. And when you trespass, you want to do that shit in the dark, generally speaking. So I would go trespassing at this one pond and go fishing. And I would try to get there sometime between 4:30 and 5, because it's hard to tie knots in the dark, And I didn't want to use well, I could have had one. I don't know if they had that back then, but like a little tiny flashlight attached to your baseball hat or something, so you could have your hands free, but you can't have a flashlight in your hand and thread the needle on a hook or a fishing lure in the dark. So yeah, that was a problem. So you would want to get there like a little bit early, sit in the grass, have your fishing lure already tied on, so you don't have to try tying that in the dark. Make you cast, catch. Sometimes you can catch some early rising fish, but then the sun would slowly rise. We had this place that we were trespassing. The people that lived in the house could see us, but they didn't wake up, generally speaking, until 7 o'clock. So we would get in there 4:30 to 5 o'clock. We would fish from 5, fish in earnest, like seriously, from about like right now, when it would be starting to get light. If this is later on in the year, it would start to get light like 5:15 or so, like that. You fish like a maniac until 6 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock you would start to worry, because they come down and chase you out. You'd always worry about like calling the police on you and stuff. And we got thrown out there a lot of times, but fishing was really good. And it was just a little pond. I caught 23 fish there one day. I caught 16 chain pickerel, which is like a small pike, and 7 bass. I caught so many fish on this one lure that pickerel have teeth like pike. They're like a small pike. That they bit the paint off of my lure, so my lure was missing all of its paint by the end of the day, because I caught 16. That doesn't mean that I had 16 bites. That probably meant that I had 60 bites. So 60 toothy fishes was hitting that lure. But I don't want to start talking about fishing again, because I'll start talking. Yeah, I got like a serious urge to do that fishing thing. And that's like talking baseball to somebody that don't like baseball. If you talk fishing, I mean, there's funny fishing stories. Like I have a story about how I'm fishing, but it never evolves around. It never revolves around the actual fishing. It's about shit that happens in the fishing. Like, you know, I was fishing one time and this motherfucker started shooting at my bobber, and 22 shells were skipping past my head. And it don't have nothing to do with fishing. It has to do with people like shooting in your general direction like it's a joke, trying to shoot your bobber, not understanding like the angle of the bullet and how a 22 ain't that powerful, but it's powerful enough to kill you and will skip off of the surface of water. So, you got to go home at that point. And then you go home and you ask your older brother if you can have his 22 so you can shoot back, because, fair is fair. I don't have to, guy's got 22. I don't want to get his 30-30. That's not right. So, and then there's other stories. I got a billion stories about it. But there's another story like where, I'm a kid. I'm just jonesing to go fish in this place. Though, unfortunately, you have to do like a tightrope walk across this log, across water. It's March. I've been waiting all winter to go fishing. My first fishing trip. I've got a bucket in one hand, fishing rod in the other, instead of the old bar balancing thing for the tightrope walk. Boom, I fall into the water up to here. It's 38 goddamn degrees out. The water's even colder. I go home and do like a different type of fishing expedition looking for my nuts, because I thought the shit disappeared. Everything shrunk up, and it's like, oh my! I hope it grows back. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna need that later from when I'm renting. Shh, just fuck me. But yeah, yeah, that was like, oh shit! I think I permanently lost them. They're gone. Like my whole body from like below the tits down was purple. I was so cold when I got home, because I was walking, so I had to walk like a mile back home. And of course it was windy and it was 38 degrees, and I had just fallen into liquid ice. And I asked my older brother, and he's like, damn, dude, get your ass in the bathtub and run you some warm water, you idiot. Because, my family's just, they got to call you an idiot or stupid or something. They can't just help you. Like my brother with that thing, like, oh, your foot's bleeding like a motherfucker because you dropped glass on your foot. What are you? Well, I was stupid. They just can't say. They just can't offer help. They have to call you names while they're doing it. So I jump in the bathtub. I strip down. I realize I no longer have testicles, and my body is purple, and I've turned into a Smurf. No, wait a minute, that's blue. Close enough. So, anyways, I jump in the water and stuff, and I realize, like, God damn, I'm feeling the water with my hand, which has blood in it, and I'm like, this water is actually cold, but it feels warm, man. I'm in trouble. It's like it felt warm on my lower regions. And I'm like, I can't handle warm water at this point. I got to start out with cool water and work my way up to warm. I watched my nether regions go through the shades of the rainbow until they reached flesh tone, and then like my nuts reappeared. I was like, I think I might need them. So I didn't know that I didn't need them someday, but at the time I was like, I might need them things someday. I didn't know they were going to be strictly for entertainment purposes only. They wouldn't have any practical use and or value. I was just a kid. I didn't know my life was going to, take a U-turn into hell, and then what's below hell, Tartarus. Yeah, I was going to be hanging out with the Titans, getting my ass kicked every fucking day by Prometheus and the other boys down there. That's the only Titan I can think of. I don't even know if he's a Titan. I got those shit in there quick because, timing is everything. So, So, anyways, the point being is if you're talking about needlepoint, it's not interesting unless you stab yourself with the needle. If you're talking about fishing, it's not interesting to people, let me rephrase that. If you're talking about needlepoint to somebody who's not in the needlepoint, it's not interesting unless you stab your friend with the needle or yourself with the needle. Talking to somebody about fishing, it's not interesting unless somebody is shooting at you, or you freeze to death on the way home, or you fall through the ice, or your guy next to you snags your ear, and then you have to figure out how to get something out of your ear. All kind of crazy shit happens when you're fishing too. It's like it's not just about the fishing. It's about all. It's like it was always like that. It's like an adventure. You don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. You know, and anything can happen. And yeah, bears can come out of the woods. You can get scared by a moose, like my friend. You can almost get in a car wreck like we did, looking for Niagara Falls. Worst sightseeing trip ever. So yeah, we hydroplaned. No, it was raining out, but it wasn't a matter of hydroplaning. The way like that area, if you ever go see Niagara Falls, man, hire a professional driver. Do not do the driving yourself, because there is a confusing complex of one-way streets, and it's like, you're like, well, we need to make a turn here. Wait, that's a one-way street. And then that's what he did. He was like I was like, oh, we're headed this way, so you gotta take a left here. 'Cause I always like the navigator. Dude with one of the worst senses of direction in the world, but he was worse, the driver. So he's like, no, that's a one-way street. He turns the wheel, and then we like slide off at like, I don't know, 35 miles an hour. And we hit this curb, and he scraped the bottom of his Nissan and end up in this grass and shit. And he's like, fuck it, we're not seeing Niagara Falls. Could look at it on TV. We're going home. Now on the way home, we hydroplaned on the freeway. It's like, this car, you need to get a new car, man. This car is not safe. Because we were getting on the big road, getting on the ramp, and we fishtailed, because we had to turn on the ramp, and we fishtailed and went sideways, like on I-77. That's not good. We straightened it out and stuff, and everything was cool, but a lot of people's sphincters weren't unclenched for another 20 to 30 miles. This is fucking scary as hell. My brother was doing the possum thing, and I was like, hey, wake up. I was mad because I was like, you don't get to sleep through all this bullshit. Because he was, possums, when they're under stress, they call it playing possum, but it's just the thing that they do. It's like, that's why they don't move like real slow. Like, you don't see me, I'm an ugly ass possum. I smell like ass and I'm walking through your garage. But you don't see me. It's just a thing that they do where their nervous system like shuts down, and they call it playing possum. But they're really not playing. It's some weird thing that happens to them. Well, my brother was doing that shit because we were going through all this stress with my foster brother driving, and I was like, "Hey, man, you don't get to sleep. Wake up!" And it's like, how the hell can you be sleeping through all this? He was like playing possum. And like, yeah, you ain't sleep. You ain't going to sleep, man. We almost died like twice here. It's like you need to be awake for when we die. Yeah, all kind of crazy shit can happen surrounding the fishing expedition. And yeah, I've been bit by snakes. I've fallen out of trees fishing. I've uh, yeah, I have been chased by police. I have been chased by angry homeowners with axe handles. I have been stuck in the horrendous thunderstorms. I have had to camp out in a cave and make a fire like a caveman. So yeah, that is, you gotta appreciate that shit while you can do it. So, but them damn young people, man, like I said, back in my day, 10 miles in the snow, you gotta appreciate that shit while you can do it. Living off of memories. I mean, memories, at some point, everybody got to live off of memories. But when you got to do it when you're in your late 40s, early 50s, that's some shit. That ain't right. I mean, my 67-year-old friends in Florida catching barracuda and sharks, swimming with hammerheads and shit. He's still having fun and having adventures and having interesting stories. I'm 15 years younger than him. And that ain't right. That ain't fair. You know, Not that he ain't a great guy and all, but shit, that ain't right. But yeah, at least I tried to do stuff. It's like a lot of dumbasses that got would get stuck in my situation. You get a spinal tumor when you're 16. You get spinal reconstruction when you're 18. You get the number one pain generating disease when you're 20. And I still got stories, so I still tried. So I don't see why I should have to keep up with this charade when I put more effort into this losing campaign than most people would have. I mean, I met a dude in a hospital. He taught me a very important lesson. But I was in a hospital for the first time, and it was just over asthma. I had a bad asthma attack, and when my two sisters lived together. Can't remember the name of the place, but it was actually in this city, but not really in the city. It was like out in the country. They had like 84 cats. At the time, I was allergic to white cats. So they had white cats, and I had asthma when I was a kid. So I ended up in the hospital, and I ended up in the hospital next to this dude. This dude had been operated on, he had been cut, he had issues, he had all kinds of shit going on. He's just a fucking kid, man. He's just a little bit older than me. So he had some kind of surgery, and he had like the tape and the stitches and stuff. That dude hops out of bed and he starts doing push-ups. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, you just had surgery a couple of days ago. And he says, man, you got to keep moving. You got to keep trying. And the sooner you start doing shit after you had surgery, the more you're back to being a human being and acting normal. Unfortunately, he ripped his stitches. He ripped his stitches, and then he got into the medical cart without the knowledge of the staff and stole shit and doctored his own wounds. It's like I'm watching this shit. I'm looking, and like his stitches are dripping blood and shit, and he's changing the gauze and stuff, and he's like messing around with the stitches and whatnot. And I'm like, this dude's a fucking Marine or something, man. What's up with this? And he's like field dressing the wound that he just created on himself by trying to do push-ups. It's like, man, you just had surgery like a couple of days ago, dude. You're supposed to be like laying in bed resting. You know, that's what he told me. He's like, man, you got to keep moving. You got to keep doing. Because then you can get back to your life. What he told me, more or less. That was like 38 years ago, so I do the best I can with my memory. But that was memorable to me watching that. And I remember like it's really stupid. The first time I got operated on, I came to in a hospital room. There's this dude next to me, and he's watching something on TV, and I hear titties. And I'm like, what? And it was somebody around my age, and they're like, man, look at those titties, man. And he's watching the surgery channel. They used to have this thing called the surgery channel. And I'm like, I woke up from like getting surgery to watching surgery. And I'm like, what kind of fucking weirdo freak are you watching somebody get, prepped for breast surgery and getting off on it? Gosh, my mind is such a trash bin. It's the junk drawer in your house. I remember all these little bits and pieces of nonsense. It's all a bunch of fucking nonsense. My life has been nothing but a whole bunch of nonsense. And like I said, man, how the hell are steroids going to kill me? Man, just give me some steroids so my ankle ain't looking. My ankle is at least in the same neighborhood as my other ankle. You know, and it's like one course of steroids. So it's like I was very clear on the phone with that woman. It's like, I just want one course. I don't need it to be a repeat thing. I know that steroids are dangerous if taken spaced too close together. You can't have steroid shots like every month over a long period of time. It's not good for you. It degrades the cartilage in the joint. I get it. I just want it once. And they was like, no. So I'm like, fuck. Well, at least I asked. I mean, what can you do besides ask? Well, you can't go down there like, give me the steroids. I want them now. Sir, how much do you want? I want one course of steroids, just like I asked for. Don't make me use this gun. You can't rob him for steroids. You'd have to do that at the drugstore anyway. He would be like, you don't want the Oxycontin. You don't want you don't want benzos. You don't want opiates. You want steroids. He's like, yeah, but I only want one course of steroids, man. You better cough that shit up, man. My leg is swollen, and it ain't going to stay swollen. And then you limp out, put the gun in your pocket. And then they're like, put an APB on some limping motherfucker. It's just so stupid, man. Life is so fucking stupid. I don't understand it, man. None of it makes any sense. But I do like the fact that they come here to do tests on me, and I do have a doctor. And that part, at least, is good. I always try to look at the bright side of a completely hopeless, doomed situation where there's no light at the end of the tunnel, man. There's no light at the end of this tunnel. This is not going to have a happy ending. So, just disabuse yourself of that notion. There's nothing miraculous that's going to happen. It's not like I'm suddenly going to be magically healed of CRPS. And, I'm not going to suddenly get a doctor that listens to me after 53 years of doctors that don't listen to me. Doctors made me this way. That's what would really drive most people crazy. It's like, you made me this way from not listening to me, and now because I'm all fucked up, because you people made me this way, you won't give me a course of steroids when told you that it worked before. You like, you fucked me up and you won't help me even like treat the symptoms that you caused by not listening to me. But I don't think like in bigoted terms. You know what I mean? Like I know I said that the medical community is more or less my enemy. But like, I don't blame that doctor for like protecting himself or whatever. It doesn't make any fucking sense, but maybe it does from his perspective. I don't know. It's like, so I keep an open mind when I go see a doctor. Usually they're assholes, but uh, it's like there's been times where doctors have helped me and listened to me and helped me out. Like I said, that rapist doctor was a pretty good doctor. It's what he was doing on his free time that was the problem. And yeah, he was a weird doctor though. I think like he never saw me naked. How do you go to a doctor for like I went from to him for at least 5 years, at least 5 years, probably somewhere between 5 and 8 years. I got problems with keeping track of time. Keeping track of time when you have a chronic pain disease is not a good plan. Losing track of time is what you want to do. So, anyways, I've seen this dude for years. It was almost to the point where, I was like a stripper. I'm like, you want me to take something off? It's like, yeah, you want me to take my pants off so you can look at it? He's like, no, I'll take your word for it. It's like yeah, I'm starting to feel kind of, you're hurting my self-esteem, doc. I'm not that bad looking. You know, sure you don't want to see some skin? I mean, I went in there with a swollen testicle, and I was like braced for the whole deal because I had that sort of a problem before, and they had like, hey, Julie, Ron, Jimmy, come look at this, man. This thing, you gotta see this shit. They have, they bring in like people that are in training and stuff to look at you. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're enjoying the sight of my testicles, So, but this guy is just one guy. He had this other dude with him, and I'm like, oh shit. I just thought it was gonna be him. Well, maybe it'll be less creepier than show my balls to two guys instead of one guy. But he was like, no, you don't need to take your pants off. He's like, say you had it before and you know what it is. He's like, I'll just give you, they have very specific, Levaquin, it's called. They have a very specific antibiotic for that. He's like, I'll just write you the antibiotic. Call me in a couple of days, let me know how you're doing. I was kind of disappointed, man. It's like, I felt like a stripper where a person's like, no, I don't want to lap dance. Because I was fully psychologically prepared, like, here you go, poke around, have fun. Anyways, that's enough of me trying to be an amusing, spitting out true nonsense. Because all the things that you have heard are all fact and not fiction, unless they're obvious jokes. It's like all that shit happened. That dude ripped his stitches, stole shit out of the medical cart, and did a self triage on himself like he was in combat. That happened. Excuse me. I fell in the water. My nuts disappeared. That happened. All that shit happened. So, I'm not making any of that stuff up. Somebody actually hit on me while I'm trying to rent a porno because they figured I was an easy mark. I'm like, man, I thought about it later and I'm like, is that like her play? Is she like just kind of freaky? And she's like, this dude's real horny and uh, you know, he's an easy mark. It's like, cause that was really weird being hit on when you're renting a porno. That's fucking weird. And yeah, yeah, all that stuff happened. I ain't making none of that nonsense up. Not that it's all that like out there. It's pretty weird. All that stuff about them old TVs where you had to like play them like pinball machines just to get a glimpse of titties. Cause I didn't, yeah, it's like my foster brother, he had access to pornography somehow. I don't know where the fuck he got it. He probably got it. I don't know where he got access to pornography, but he would like hide it under his bed. So I was too sick to go to school, and he was sharing a bedroom with my younger brother, but I knew where he kept his porno stash. So I would wait until he went to school, and then, yeah, I would go up there. And so one time, he come home from school early. I don't know how I moved faster than the Flash, man. I had my pants zipped up, the shit put away, opened up a stand, threw the magazine into the stand, shut the door, and just sat there and said, "Hey, man, what's up?" And he's like, "I had to go home. I got sent home from school early." I don't remember his reasoning for why, but I was like, I heard that first step on the steps, and you know how fast kids move. I was faster than him, man. I was Wyatt Earp, quick on the draw. I'm just glad I didn't zipper little Jimmy up, because I put that shit away. And like I said, man, I opened this. My brother had this little stand with a drawer on it, and I like opened up the drawer, winged the magazine into it, closed the door, just sat there, struck a pose like that. I'm just sitting on the floor, leaned up against this bed over here. This is just how I chill, bro. And he never knew what was up. Then I waited for him to leave, go downstairs for whatever reason, took his magazine and slid it back in the exact place between the Wii and the penthouse from whence I took it. I think it was a gallery. I don't know, but he would always have like 2 or 3 porno magazines under his bed. I'd always be stealing. I don't know where he got access to them though, or how he got them though. You know, it's just like kept them under his bed like any normal dude would. Not between the mattresses though. I didn't understand that, because if my mom was super religious, man, and that's like my brother's sob story. It's like, yeah, that was the day that my mom found my porn. That was the day that our mom, found his porn stash and threw them all out. He's like, that was a sad, sad day. I was like, well, where'd you have it hidden? And he was like, well, they were in the closet underneath some stuff, but I don't know how she found it, but she got that porn radar, man. She just found that shit. She threw it all out. Even the Playboy Vanna White issue. He's like, especially the Playboy Vanna White issue. Turn them letters, bitch. That's enough nonsense, man. Hopefully, I won't be having any more dark nights of the soul like this. But it's better to do this, I guess, than brood. And, try to be funny, talk about stupid shit, and at least justify my existence by entertaining between 10 and 20 people. So, adios.